What bad thing did your kid do that you were secretly proud of? When my daughter was 9, she did something that technically counted as bad, but it's one of those memories that still makes me proud years later. We lived in a neighborhood with a little public park. It wasn't much. A rusty swing set, a slide with peeling paint, a cracked basketball hoop, and patches of dirt where grass never seemed to grow back. The city had posted notices promising improvements, but the words were always vague. Funding approved, work scheduled soon, repairs pending. Nothing ever happened. Ellie, my daughter, loved spending time at that park with her friends. They'd ride their bikes, play tag, and hang around until the streetlights flickered on. But one thing always bothered her. There was no bench, nowhere to sit down with snacks, no place for parents to rest, no spot for kids to gather without sitting in dirt or balancing on broken wood chips. For weeks, she'd bring it up at dinner. Why don't they just put a bench there? She'd ask. I'd give her the grown-up answers. Budgets, delays, how cities work slowly. I thought that would be the end of it. Instead, she looked me dead in the eye one night and said, well, if they won't do it, then I will. Then I laughed it off, but she wasn't joking. The following Saturday, she and 3 of her friends marched down to the park like they were on a mission. They had backpacks full of snacks, a little cash they had pooled from allowance, and to my horror, a box of tools borrowed from their parents. One kid had a hammer, another carried a screwdriver set, and Ellie had convinced an older neighbor to cut some scrap wood to size for them. I should have stopped them, but there was something about the determination in her voice that made me step back. They weren't just goofing around, they had a plan. All day long, they worked in the park. They measured, argued over the design, painted with leftover green paint they found in someone's garage, and slowly pieced together a lopsided but sturdy little bench. At one point, I walked over just to check that no one had hammered their thumb off, and there they were, faces smudged with dirt, laughing, sweating, figuring things out together. By sunset, the bench was finished. It wobbled a little and the paint dripped down the sides, but it was real. It could hold weight. It was theirs. They even signed it by scribbling "keep out" in black marker on the underside, not as a warning, but more like a secret kids-only signature. When Ellie came home that night, she was covered in paint and sawdust, beaming like she'd just built a castle. We did it, she said proudly. And for a moment, I didn't know whether to scold her for using tools unsupervised or hug her for being brave enough to actually solve a problem the adults had ignored. Of course, I worried about the consequences. It was public property after all. The city could easily take it down and send us a stern letter about unauthorized structures. I braced myself for angry neighbors or fines, but then something unexpected happened. A week later, a city maintenance crew came by. The kids spotted the truck and panicked, thinking their bench was about to be torn apart. Instead, one of the workers sat down on it, tested the wobble, and laughed. You kids made this? He asked. Ellie and her friends hesitated, then nodded. The man grinned. Not bad. Could use a little tightening though. Instead of dismantling it, they reinforced it. They sanded the edges so no one would get splinters, bolted the legs down so it wouldn't tip, and left it there. The bench, which had started as a bad act of rebellion, was now officially part of the park. Ellie couldn't believe it. She kept asking me, so we're not in trouble? And I told her the truth. No, she wasn't. In fact, she had done something most adults don't even try. She saw a problem and fixed it. Over the next few months, that little bench became a hub. Kids sat there with popsicles after riding their bikes. Parents rested while watching toddlers. Teenagers sprawled across it after basketball games. The thing Ellie and her friends built with scraps and stubbornness had quietly transformed the park. And for me, it changed something too. As a parent, you spend so much time worrying about rules, safety, and doing things the right way. But that day, I realized that sometimes breaking a small rule to do the right thing is worth it. Ellie wasn't reckless. She was resourceful. She had shown leadership, teamwork, creativity, and responsibility, all in one afternoon. That bench is still there years later. The paint has faded, the marker writing has almost rubbed away, but every time I walk past it, I think of that day. I remember my daughter with paint on her face, hammer in hand, determined to make her little world better, even if no one else would. She thought she was just building a bench, but really she was building character, resilience, and a reminder that sometimes kids understand community better than adults. So yes, it was bad, but it was also one of the proudest moments I've ever had as a parent.